Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Hello and welcome to episode 232 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz. What a show we have for you today. What a day we have for you today as we're pulling a doubleheader here on Thursday. Today's show is focusing on a tremendous card in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. It is the Saudi Cup. How about $20 million race happening this Saturday? But there are also many very good undercard Group 3 races, and we are going to cover right here all 6 races like a glove here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I challenge any podcast out there on YouTube to give you such great information and deep dives that we'll be doing right here on the show today. So please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. After you do that, smash that thumbs up button. That will tell YouTube this is a great show, and we'll send handicappers and punters all over the world to the HHH Racing Podcast. And also, we'd appreciate if you hit that notification bell also, so you will know when new shows will rise on the show. By my name tag there, at H Kravitz is my Twitter handle. Again, at H Kravitz. It keeps growing every single day. And also scrolling on the bottom of the screen, you can find my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. And also on the bottom of the screen, you can see, just leaving the screen now, and we'll come back, of course, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern here in the United States. We'll be covering the huge day at Oaklawn on Saturday with another road to the Kentucky Derby race, the Rebel Stakes. Only a measly $1 million in that race for the 3-year-old boys. And there's also a Philly race, a prep for the Oaks, and some other great races. That preview will happen tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Thursday. Of course, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Power Picks. Look down below the video player. Every day we have new people subscribing to our Power Picks. It's a $4 a week. That's it. It's $4 every Saturday. A great tip sheet. We've given many winners, price plays, $1,000 pluses, pick fives. It's a great tip sheet. It's very expensive. Check it out below the video player. Also, we have a new sponsor, Bet US. If you're interested in betting sports and horse racing, anything else, again, look below the video player. We have a great discount for that. If you use the promo code RACING3H, you can get a free 125% back if you deposit $100 or more. I don't know what you're waiting for. Of course, the Super Bowl's over, but we got the NCAA tournament coming up soon. We got golf every week, basketball, whatever you like. Check that out. Look below the video player. Also, we have great information on our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. And if you go to that website, you can look at examples of our tip sheet, our power pick. So go to hhhracingpodcast.com. Pete Visco, one of our co-hosts, done a great job with that. And I believe that will take care of all the promos. Let's see who's here real quick. We got Trish Smith is here. Trish, so glad my favorite Davy, the Davy Lane fan club is here with Trish Smith. Excited to see Davy. More international podcasts. I agree. And Phil Conti. Good afternoon, Philip. I know we're, of course, on live here, sort of late afternoon in the States. Not our usual time, but we welcome everyone. If you're watching live, please make sure you comment in the chat. We want to have a very active conversation. Jim Pilaris in Buffalo. He's not going to miss Davy Lane in this great podcast. Neither is Matt Miller. Looking forward to eventually meeting you, Davy. All ears today. This show plus the Power Picks will be the only handicapping I'll need for the big day. Wow. No pressure, Davy Lane, but you can handle it. And, of course, Tom Espinoza from San Francisco. All the heavy hitters are here. Let's bring on 2 more heavy hitters. First, one of my co-hosts does a great job in many aspects with the show from Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco, and live from Liverpool, England, our friend and excellent punter from the UK. He's back, Mr. Davy Lane. Gentlemen, okay, it's Saudi Cup this Saturday. How are we doing?
We're good. We're good. I'm
Pete,
just
how you
happy to
doing?
be. I'm just happy to be finally be on screen with Davy. It's the first time, so
Yeah,
it's an exciting day. Now I basically can die, and he's got
Angelo.
and we got Italian beer for Phil Conti and all the Italians watching for us. So it couldn't
absolutely.
be any happier.
Penn State Scott's got it right, Davey. Davy Lane always brings a few winners, a few. We're gonna have more than a few, Davey, on this show up his sleeve, and Davey will bring some roughies, Pete. Now, if you're not familiar with some of the jargon overseas, we're gonna throw some at you today, so I'm sure you can handle it. The roughie would be a long shot, Pete, and Davey got some roughies. Mr. Ray Shoon, Davey, at 61 2 years ago. Do you got any roughies for us this Saturday?
Yeah, I do. I think I have two. I mean, one really isn't a roughie, but I think I have one roughie, and well, we'll get to that in the second leg. The second
Beautiful.
Nice
We got a
teaser.
lot of people.
Nice teaser.
Kyle Roscoe, one of our co-hosts. Let's get it going. CJ Andrews wants to know, Davey, what a nap? Are you familiar with that? A nap, is that a horse racing vernacular?
Yeah. That would be your best bet of the day.
Wow, CJ thrown out from the Dakotas. You learn something new every day, Pete. Guys, we're going to jump into the card here in just a second. Davey, let's talk about the context of the Saudi Cup. It's a huge racing day. This is, I think, their fourth year that they've had the Saudi Cup. Has not always been won by an American. In fact, the last 2 years, it has not been. Where do you put the Saudi Cup within the context of international racing these days?
It's getting up there. I think what you have to look at is, there's 12 months in a year, and every month of the year there's a big racing carnival somewhere, and it's not just the Breeders' Cup or Royal Ascot. It's it's Hong Kong in December. It's some whatever's in January. Well, that'll be Cape Town. That would be the Met.
Well, we got the Pegasus World Cup here in the States.
So and the Pegasus, and now you've got February is basically Saudis controlling that, and then March, while most of the English are looking at Cheltenham, the flat racing world is Dubai, and then you go into the summer of the British season and the European season and the American season, and then you roll along, and then you've got the Japanese stuff later on in the year and the Hong Kong stuff, and so it's every month is something pretty big, and it's just a case of the horses aren't machines, so you've got to realize that not every horse can go to every big dance. This is it.
Pete, I think
this particular event. I mean, it's got a quirky little mix of a lot of Japanese, a couple of Americans. Really, it's not a lot of Americans here this time. Really,
no.
A couple of English, a few Uruguayans, and really, so it's it's not really the greatest card of racing, to be quite honest. This year's, I think last year's was better, but there you go.
Pete, I think we tend to be myopic as horse players. We focus on the United States racing mainly. I know, obviously, in the UK they'll focus on the English racing, and Cheltenham is coming up, which is the big jumps of meet there in the UK. And Pete, Dave, I remember asking you last year around Breeders' Cup time, how interested are people in the UK in the Breeders' Cup, and you sort of poo-pooed and said not really. Pete, if people are going to be betting like the Breeders' Cup here in the States, you got to pay attention to other races outside of our country. There's a lot of connections that come here for the Breeders' Cup in November. I've started to look at Hong Kong a little bit in my free time. I bet a little Hong Kong last week. You really ought to branch out if you really want to become a better horse player, so about people like jockey Davy Lane, or about João Moreira, or about people that you and I know about through international racing, or Baldwin, or these guys. You can't just look at a race here in the States and say, I don't know about anything. They're a UK horse, or they're a Middle Eastern horse. You got to do your homework before these meets come up.
Yeah, well, I think it helps because then you're not sort of scrambling at the end. I mean, how many times have we done it in the past where Breeders' Cup time comes and you're sitting there going, all right, I don't know any of these horses. Now I have to catch up. Luckily, we have the great pod that we do with Davey every year. But when you don't have that, and you used to just be like, hey, I don't know this horse. I have to catch up on every horse and watch videos and then understand what tracks they're at, which tracks are good, which races are more important or more valuable than others. I think it's tough. And plus, I think just in the U.S. in general, it's a little intimidating looking at the PPs of some of the foreign horses. So I wonder if that takes people out of it and makes people not as excited about handicapping and looking at some of these international cards. Because when you look at it, you go, man, none of the stuff that I'm used to using for handicapping purposes is there. And so, you know what, I'm just gonna ignore it. So I think that's part of it. And then I agree with you, though. It's nice when Breeders' Cup goes and you go, man, I remember watching that horse 6 months ago, and I really like that horse, or I like that jockey, or even now the Appleby sends his horses over and they come over and dominate. You sort of maybe would know about them in advance as opposed to when they get here.
Or betting Dubai or betting Ascot as well, obviously. Go ahead, Davey.
One other important thing to know, it's not just horse against horse, jockey against jockey, but this is also now becoming punter against punter around the world, because this particular meet is a whirlpool event. And the whirlpool event this time is it's Hong Kong, it's France, it's the UK, and it's the US through TVG. So there are actually 4 jurisdictions involved. So you're, for the singles, for the Quinellas or the exactas, what have you, and the trifectas, we're in a big pool here with the Hong Kong man who's going to be up early in the morning, with the French man, with the and woman, and with the UK, and then the morning American characters, are going to be scratching their heads, like, trying to get involved. So, we're now starting to see a commingled world come together. I mean, I'd like it to be commingled from Argentina to Zimbabwe if I could, like there's a pool I want to play in, but there you go.
We have a bunch of questions in the chat about PPs and other things. Guys, we're going to get to all that. Believe me, any information you want to know about Saturday, we're going to cover. Now, before we do all that, I just want to show one thing, guys. Davey and Pete, as you know, this podcast started about 2 years ago, and I want to show something that sort of helped jumpstart my podcast career, or this podcast show in general. Like I said, we started this about 2 years ago. Episode 10. This is only the 10th episode, Davey and Pete.
Yeah.
I did a preview. Now, I was solo. I didn't have the wonderful Pete and Paul until about episode 120. So the first 120 shows I did solo. And I covered the Saudi Cup. And one of the horses I tipped out that I sort of called one of my sons, Davey, was big. And it was 2 years ago. I just want to bring this up to everyone real quick, if I may, just to show that we are capable of tipping out some good foreign horses here. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Let me just do this. Here we go. So this was okay. I'm going to do one thing. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm going to. I know Pete's like, this always happens. Well, it's because I got to make sure the sound is on here. Okay. So this was 2 years ago, guys. 2 years ago, at this time, me talking about the 2020 Saudi Cup. The horse that I'm keying on, the horse I really like a lot, other than the top 2, of course, that I want to talk about, and I want to show you 2 replays, is Mishrif. Mishrif is the 11 horse in this race. I am very interested in Mishrif in all spots in the trifecta. I'll show you my ticket in a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute now, Howard.
I tipped on Mishrif. I tipped on Mishrif about 19-1, Davey. And that race, Pete, if you recall, was a horse called Nick's Go and Charlatan for Baffert that looked like complete monsters. I tipped it out on the show, Davey. I tipped it on Twitter. Our wonderful American handicapper and host, Matt Bernier, retweeted my pick, congratulating me. And it's funny, Davey, how one horse can sort of kickstart a career. And for me, it was Mishrif 2 years ago. So that was pretty cool. Mishrif ended up having a good career, Davey. Now retired, I believe.
Yeah. And it's a pity. I think it was it COVID? He was all things going on, and he didn't come over when he could have come over, and so on. It was yeah. Anyway,
there are a lot of issues. All right, guys, let's talk about what's happening here on Saturday, because a lot of people need information. First of all, down below the video player, this came from Richard Flax. For Richard Flax, everyone, down below the video player, Pete, I decided to put a link to not to the Brisnet PPs, but sort of the program that Saudi puts out. So, Richard, look down below the video player in the description. I have a link where you could see not the PPs, but all the races and all the entries. Basically, our Equibase is down there, Pete. So, Richard, you can look for it there. Now, in terms of the PPs, Pete, I don't know if you want to talk about this. Brisnet just came out with their PPs, and that's what we're using today. But I know DRF is coming out tomorrow with theirs, Pete.
Yeah, and the Brisnet ones are free. I could actually see if the link will work. I could put it in the chat or below, because the Brisnet for internet. The one thing actually, and this is maybe something to mention, if you have a Twin Spires account or if you just go to Brisnet, actually international PPs here are free. So you don't necessarily need an account. So if you do want to dabble in an international track, you can go there and not have to worry about buying the PPs, and they're always there. If you're not used to using Brisnet, though, for international purposes, it's a good resource. So I'll dump the link in there and see if it works. If not, somebody can let me know.
And in terms of betting, most of your ADWs will have it. Twin Spires, Niagara Bats, TVG. You can find it pretty much anywhere, I believe. All right, guys, let's jump into these races. Now, Davey, as you know, there's 8 races on Saturday. There's Saturday morning. The first 2, ladies and gentlemen, are Arabian races. We are not covering those. We're going to start with race 3. Race 3 and 4, we're going to go through very quickly, guys, like literally 1 or 2 minutes, mainly from Davy Lane. Davy Lane's going to give his top 3 picks, and then the 3 of us will deep dive into the last 4 races. I believe there's going to be a dollar pick 6. Don't quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen, but usually on these days there's a dollar pick 6. And I'm sure there'll be a late pick 4. I don't think there's going to be a pick 5. You got to check your ADWs, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not sure what the Whirlpool is doing. I don't think that's actually been even announced yet.
Yeah, the Whirlpool is not doing a pick 6. The Whirlpool is just doing exactas and trifectas and singles. Okay,
but there will be a pick 6 through the United States, I'm guessing. There has to be. Probably. So I'm sure there will be. And there's big differences. Well, we'll talk about the odds, guys. We're going to talk about this. Let's go to race 3, Davey. And I'm going to put up your top 3, Davey, right away here. And again, you're only going to see Davey's predictions for the first 2 races, but Pete and I might have some opinions as well. There's Davey's selections for race 3. Now, let me go ahead and bring up the races. So this screen that people see right now on screen, you can find down below the video player. Race 3 is the Neom Turf Cup. You see it says 5:05. That's, of course, Saudi Arabia. That is 9:05 Eastern. So again, the thoroughbred races start at 9:05 Eastern Standard Time in the morning, Saturday. This is a 10.5 furlong. It's about 1 mile and 5/16, I believe. It's on the turf. You see the field here. Now, Davey, before you talk, this is very important. Let me go full screen and take us off. For all you viewers at home, especially in the United States, let's educate ourselves. You see on the left side of the screen, they're doing it differently. They do this in Saudi also. You see where it says the number there on the left side. If you want to bet byline, that is the number 1. But byline is breaking from stall or gate number 3. Castle is the 2 horse, but breaking from stall 5. So I highly recommend, as I bring everyone on screen, when you watch the races, don't look at the saddle cloth number. You have to look at the gate number. So if you're interested in betting byline, you want to watch gate 3, because byline is going to have the number 1 saddle cloth. And Davey, it's probably a real good idea for all viewers to at least know the colors of the silks so that you can follow these horses a little better, Davey. Correct?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And this, as we'll breeze through, I mean, this really is just a single and move on in American parlance, probably. All
right, let's talk about your top choice, Davey, in this race. Your top choice is the number 6, Missed the Cut. Missed the Cut, who is the breaking from the 9 hole with Osteen Murphy, which is quite a story that we don't have time to get into. He's just coming back from a suspension. A very good rider. What do you like about this horse, Davey?
Well, I mean, its most recent race was against the horse which he beat on the all-weather at Lingfield, a UK all-weather track, just by a nose or so. But this horse Algiers that he beat has since gone on to the dirt at Dubai and won in spectacular fashion, and is currently the favorite for the Dubai World Cup. His replays have to be seen to be believed. I mean, he's come from wide and so on. This is actually an American-bred horse by Quality Road. American owners in it as well, Lane's End amongst others.
David,
see
we got the replay
Fiore,
you said.
the race is on the inside of Albania, and towards
Sorry about that. This is his last race. He's going to come over the top and beat Algiers. Let me get to it. This is a really nice closer, a progressive 4-year-old. You can take it from here. He's the horse in the red on the outside, Davey, right here.
Yeah. See him coming down, and he nails Algiers on the line here. And even at this stage, knowing the track, you wouldn't think he was going to do that, but he did. And yeah, just watch it. Yeah, it's coming. This
is a serious finish, Davey. The last 200 here.
Yeah, serious finish, and you have to listen to what people are saying, including the connections. The trainer, a young trainer who I may have not really taken seriously initially. He's a serious horseman. He's come through the grades, the apprenticeships. He knows what he's doing. And serious connections have entrusted him with good horses, and this is another example. And they're talking about him as being a top 10 type of horse for the European campaign. So this is going to be a serious Grade 1 animal going ahead in the future. Not, this Grade 3, he should really push them aside.
And you can see he's owned by some Lane's End, St. Elias. He's got some American connections. Pete, I think this could definitely be a Breeders' Cup turf horse if he has the kind of year that we think he's going to have.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt about that too. We should expect, again, like we talked about before, this is one you could expect to see at some point, hopefully here in the States, if the year goes as expected.
Yeah, Davey, I don't know if you can see this, Davey, in the corner there, but there's no way we're getting 4-1 on this horse. You see 4-1 there are the odds on the American PPs. This is why this show is important, a lot of their shows, because there might be people like, okay, he looks okay, he's 4-1. You and I both think this horse should be odds on in this race, practically.
Well, the horse has been the favorite on the British anti-post markets now for about a month. And he's gone from maybe 11-8 into 6-5 into even money. He's now like 4-5.
Yeah,
so,
I've got it right there, Davey. Here's
10 to 11.
Yeah, these are some. This is from Odds Checker, everyone. We're going to show this too, Pete. These are the anti-posts right now. You got Miss the Cut, who's odds on, and Mustadaf around 3.5, and then Sir Busker around.
That Odds Checker will change because a lot of them will move to the Saturday card. So some bookies will still have it on an anti-post, and some other ones. It's a transitional period, but either way, he's the hot favorite. And my lazy eye was going to just accept it at that and move on. But you have to be aware of a couple of things of things that could go wrong. And one of them is that the horse is a colt, and 4-year-old colt, and there's one mare in the race. I'm serious. There's one mare in the race, and he's drawn in the next gate.
Oh boy! Pete, you might have a little looking a little side eye. Might lose a little focus in the gate. Is that what you're saying?
I've seen these heralded horses before, and I've loaded onto them, and I've opened up the potato chips or whatever you call it and the beer, and I'm sitting there, and the next thing the broadcast starts, and the horse was a muck of sweat, 10 minutes before, and you've done your money, So my advice to people is that maybe this is I'm actually going to suggest to play an exactor. We'll get to that in a minute, but I wouldn't play this horse until you've actually seen this horse going close to the gate, really, because if he's a colt and he hasn't seen a mare like that before, and it's a nice hot day in Arabia, he might blow a gasket, and what are you going to do then?
Well, the weather, it's going to be in the 80s. It's going to will be cooler when the race goes off. It's going to be very comfortable. The weather's beautiful there, a little on the warm side this week. Davey, very quickly, so I want to move on. Can you talk a little bit about your second choice, Dubai Future, and your third choice?
Is a race fit Group 3 horse that has not had a break this year, has gone straight into a campaign in Bahrain at the end of last year in November, has gone on to Meydan, and has performed credibly in Group 2 and Group 3 races in Meydan, getting into second place and fifth place. Good horse, good yardstick, and the best of the rest, in my opinion. I would play a straight exactor, a 6-3. That would be my bet, or a single on the 6. But again, I would wait. I would wait to see the go in the gate. I wanted to put in a local Arabian horse, a regional horse for third place, and I tried. I watched a lot of replays, and I couldn't do it. I wasn't going to put a square peg in a round hole here. It just wasn't going to happen. So I landed on Mustadaf for third.
Okay, I have that wrong then. So it should be 637 then. I guess I might have misread something you sent. Let me change that.
Yeah, I might have given you that wrong as well.
No, that's no problem. Davy's going 637. Musadov is second in the betting by some people right now. When you look at the PPs, Pete, you do see some familiar names. Lost to Broom last year. Didn't handle the soft. Musadov, if something happens with Miss the Cut, Musadov can certainly fire and win here. Davy, agreed?
Agreed. Yeah, but he's not race fit, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I prefer the Pat Cosgrave coming from the 2 gate to have a better chance than
I think Miss the Cut, Pete, is a very logical single here in the pick 6 or any kind of verticals or key on top. And you never know. It's a long race, etc. But Pete, he looks tough to beat.
Yeah, although I actually picked him in second. I actually had the 7 Mostadaf on top, just hoping that more of, more of if we can. I do agree that I think the price that you're not getting that 4-1 price. I missed the cut. So if you're looking for a little bit more of a price, I like the 7. And you look at the class, but again, it's been off for a little while. You'd like to see something in between a 20th place finish, even though it was the Arc. You'd still like to see potentially something in between that race and this race, but just on class alone and general form, I think that horse at least fits, especially if Missed the Cut for some reason doesn't run to expected. Sure. So this was my top choice. There's one other one I liked underneath. I don't remember what the odds. I guess that's only 6-1. I liked Sir Busker a bit. Davey, what'd you think about Sir Busker? Just as more of he's going to be stuck in the back. He's going to be hopefully rolling late and maybe to hit underneath, but
I don't like Sir Busker for a few reasons. He's a handicapper, what they call a handicapper, a horse that's been running in low-level company that burst through late in life and got lucky when the group races were kind of like undersubscribed, did well, plucky, etc. Known and has been advertised by his connections as a 7-furlong horse. I think this is too far for him, despite getting Ryan Moore. And I think its most recent race has been a bit tardy getting out of the gate. So I think all of that put together, I'm giving Sir Busker a swerve.
Okay. Yeah, and I didn't like him on top at all. I just thought if he floats up, I didn't know if he'd be somebody maybe in the underneath spot to just clean it up a bit.
One thing after going through my Arabians, and I sent a few videos to Howard, which we don't need to show because ultimately I decided against them, but probably the 2 likely ones of the Arabians, most likely would be Star of Winds, a former William Haggis horse, and that's won its last couple of third but last and second but last race in Saudi Arabia. They tried him over the dirt as well, but that didn't work out. But that's a threat. And the Bahraini horse, English trainer, has this Gerard Mosse on board. He's a long-standing jockey, rode winners in the Arc and has raced in Hong Kong many years. He's in his late 50s now, but he's a shrewd jockey. He can pull something out. He might be one to throw in underneath as well, but the rest I can't. The rest I couldn't get. I couldn't get. I tried, but I couldn't get.
I want to just comment on something in the chat because I think this is really important. And I'm going to respectfully disagree with you for a lot of reasons. JW said, "Why bother doing all that homework when the takeout is so high and 99% of horse players lose money?" Which obviously is not true. But shouldn't you focus on one track? I'm assuming JW is sort of poo-pooing us going through this card at all. Davey and Pete, I think the exact opposite. I think if you deep dive and do your homework, there's a lot of bad money out there, especially from United States bettors. And this is actually the kind of day where you can make a lot of money. And Davey, you and I have proved that over these international big race days.
Yeah, well, we hit it last year, actually, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
So
I don't know. I guess I don't really need a comment, Pete, but if you don't know what you're doing, then you should skip it. And don't play it if you don't know these horses. But to me, Pete, this is the kind of day where you can actually go the opposite way. And there's more bad money on these days than a regular day in America on a Saturday.
Well, and plus, I mean, if you do follow even the big cards, like I think we're so used to in the U.S. when you see some of the big days of racing, where you get a lot of favorites, you get a lot of low priced horses. It's not worth the value sometimes.
No,
Whereas when you look at some of these overseas big days, the odds get so sort of skewed and you can just get prices. And I mean, I've had some
absolutely.
of my biggest days on international cards because of that, because you can hit I mean, especially when you start getting into those 15 to 20 plus fields on some of these days, like when you get to Ascot and some of those bigger events, you get those big fields. The odds are crazy. A horse, you get more here. We're always like, oh, you got a nice 9-5 shot on top of a 3-1 and it pays, 850 and you're pissed. But here, I think you wind up just getting prices. I mean, you saw it in the Saudi Cup last year. I mean, that was what did he pay? 220,
81, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on, guys. We got to keep this moving. Pete, by the way, did you have a hit today?
No, that was not me. No, that was definitely not me.
Said your friend Pete won the 2000. Okay, it's another Pete.
I wish that was me. That would.
All right, sorry about that. Let's move on, guys. Next race, again, real quick. This is the 1351 turf sprint. It's at 5:45 local time there. So again, 9:45 Eastern. This race it's not 6 furlongs. It's not 6.5, Pete. It's not 7. It's 6 3/4 furlongs. How do I know? Because I did the math, of course.
Yeah.
1,351 meters, hence the name. Davey, I found this to be a tough race. I don't know if I'm going to bet this race, actually. I might just sit this one out. But your picks here, let me bring that up. Sorry, here.
Yeah.
Where are your picks?
Yeah.
There we go. You are going 7, 10, 9 in this race. So let me go ahead and switch over to the PPs. Your top choice. You're really not going with the favorites here at all in this race, which I find interesting. You are going with a bomb on top. The number 7, I believe it's pronounced Raid, 20-1 morning line from post 3. This is a local horse who exploded last time on turf.
Yeah, and I hope you've got the replay lined up for that.
I'm sure I do. I don't think you sent one to me, but I don't think I do.
Okay. Well, I think anyway. All right. Well, maybe I can find it and throw it in later.
Okay.
All right. So, for this horse, when you say it's a local horse, what you have to realize is that it's not necessarily a local horse. This horse wasn't born and bred in Saudi Arabia. This was purchased. And this horse was actually part of the Shadwell Sheikh Hamdan dispersal recently. It won its maiden by 5.5 lengths over firm turf. And if you've seen the horse's most recent win against 20 other competitors over the same distance, it loves the firm turf. It's by it's a dark angel. So what does that mean? That means, that's sire of hot sprinters. Batash, Harry Angel, Mecca's Angel won the Breeders' Cup, Raging Bull, for example. Yeah. So it's all there. It's a former Brian Meehan trained horse, and it's going to go under the radar. And initially, it was in my second wave of things to think about because I had my favorite horses here, the Happy Romance, which I flagged last year. And that was a 20-1 shot that came second, if people remember. I liked Ristencia as well, an Argentine dam to a Japanese sire. It's won many Group 1s in Japan. I like that too. And I was bouncing around. And it's when you do the work. It's when you go through the pedigrees. It's when you go through the results. It's when you go through the local form and watch Saudi Arabian websites and see the horse. And you know that Ricardo Ferreira, the jockey who's riding in Saudi Arabia, is a competent rider. It all adds up as a shot. And there's been a little bit of money for it in the UK. It's come in from 14-1 to 12-1 at William Hill there this afternoon. So there's a trickle of money. And I'm not sure what it has to beat. Casa Creed is a great horse. It did well last year, but why is it there? Is it, I think Mike Francesa, the New York radio guy, they're all saying, well, let's have another roll of the dice. Are these guys, really serious? They've gone to the well another time. So to me, this is an up and coming horse. If Sheikh Hamdan, God rest him, hadn't passed away, this horse might be the one everyone's talking about right now in the UK, at Royal Ascot or something. Instead, it got bought. It got sent down to Saudi Arabia. It's off the radar screens. You know, the regular punter is going to look at the names of all the horses that he or she knows, and then boom, where did this one come from? So I feel like I've done a bit of the work, and I feel like this one is got a credible chance.
Now, Davey, you know Songline, who won last year, who beat Happy Romance and beat Casa Creed. Songline, who's a mare from Japan, who's really talented, is going to take the bulk of the money. There's Songline right there, 2-1 with Christophe Lemaire. What is it you not like about Songline and some of these top choices in the market right now?
Well, you know, it's coming off a bit of a break, Songline. It was expected to springboard from that victory in Riyadh last year, and I don't think it really did that much. It won a race, but I was expecting more from it. And there was also an interview with Christophe Lemaire in Saudi yesterday, where, you know, you get to know, you know, part of the handicapping or the punting game for me is getting used to straight up characters and getting used to guys who, you know, talk with both sides of the mouth, you know. And so, you know, and I get a mental, you know, I remember who's who and who, you know, who's bullshitting and who isn't. And Christophe Lemaire was talking about the horse, and he said, well, you know, she has to be at her very best to win this, you know. And to me, that was a clue. You know, I like to say that he was basically saying, you know, this isn't a slam dunk. So that put caution to the wind for me, and I scratched a bit more, and then, you know, I tossed around with Lusail, with Ristencia, with Happy Romance, and all of this, and then I had to go back to the Saudis. I put them in a separate category, and then I went through them all one by one. Well, you know, there's two of them, but you know, I went through them, and you know, this one really stood out after watching the replay.
I like horses with a little bit of recency. I don't mind horses off the layoff, but you mentioned Pete about, or Davey, sorry, you mentioned to miss the cut might look to his right and see a mare. Some of these horses are coming from cold weather environments, Davey. So I'm going to look at their coats. I know you mentioned their coats and how they look. If they're sweating profusely, that's not a good thing. You really got to pay attention to the pre-race festivities, so to speak, Davey, in these days, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm actually going to send you the link to this if you want. I don't know if you have the time, but
I think we're going to go ahead and move on. And no disrespect, Davey, because we got to get on the main four. But people can look for themselves. So Davey's going with a roughie, a long shot Raid at 20-1 morning line, about 15-1 overseas.
I'll give people the code on the Saudi side to watch it. It's H1443. Okay. Just coming up. Actually, let's move on. I'll give it to people later.
By the way, the track, if you go to the track specific webpage, a lot of these horses you could find their replays, then they're all sort of lumped together as opposed to searching for them on YouTube. So it was easier to find some of them there as opposed to trying to search everything. So go to the track webpage and you'll be able to find some of these replays, especially on the Saudi horses.
I just want to mention one horse, and then Pete, if you have anything, we're going to move on. Bathrat Leon, to me, is very interesting. This horse won the Godolphin Mile last year in Saudi Arabia. He's turning back, Pete, but I love turnbacks. I think this is going to fit like a glove. I don't know the pace situation of this race, to be honest, which is why I might not bet it. But Bathrat Leon, I don't have the number in front of me, I think is very interesting in this race. So, Pete, anything you want to add? Otherwise, we'll just move on.
No, I sort of like Casa Creed as he's one of my favorite horses and he ran so well last year. And I like Pogo. I like Pogo a bit too, which is a horse that's a little bit familiar to us because was here in the Breeders' Cup. Yeah. And I think was a little over his head in that race, but still was in the mix and was on, sort of up on the pace. But I think you can, again, coming back to 7, which I think he's at his best.
And he ran this race last year, by the way. Pete didn't do as well, but was up close to the pace. He's got some early speed. He's very rank. He's like very energetic horse. He'll probably be up close somewhere.
I think his form got a little better as the year went on. So maybe if he can carry that over at a decent price, you can get him in the mix as well.
Absolutely. All right, Davey and Pete, it is time for the last 4 races. And I think, Davey, they're entering the track. Hold on. Yes, they are. Okay, there's the call to the post for us Americans. Dave's like, what the hell is that? I don't. Where's the queen or the king now or whatever going with the carriage? All right, guys, let's get to our picks. Now, the bottom of the screen, you see our picks. And again, these are not post numbers, ladies and gentlemen. You got to look at the program carefully. Those are our program numbers. They're going to be breaking from different spots. Let's go ahead to race 5. This is the start of the late pick 4. I'm going to go ahead and bring it on screen right there. This is the Longines Red Sea Turf Handicap. This is a long distance race. It's a mile and 7/8. A mile and 7/8 on the turf. You see the prize. The prize is $2.5 million. It's a Group 3. It's 3,000 meters, 15 furlongs. Davey, there's a lot of horses here that are coming off playoffs. There's horses coming in from all over the world. This is a fascinating race to me, Davey, and I really think we're going the same top 3. This is a race where we are both fading, I think, some of the horses at the top of the market, and we're going with number 8 horse, Sisfahan, on top.
Okay. Well, let me tell you why I'm going with that, because it's a Group 1 horse. It's a German Derby winner, and let me name 3 of the horses it beat when it was at Del Mar in the Breeders' Cup. It finished 7th out of 14, but it beat Rock Emperor, it beat Gufo, and it beat Tanawa. So that's not bad. It's a 1-length defeat of it lost to Torquato Tasso in a German group race.
Yep.
And it gets a jockey, which is great form, the ARC winner. And it gets a jockey. Most people here will know of Tom Marquand. He recently broke his collarbone in Australia. But there's another young jockey. When I say young, I mean, these guys aren't young anymore. They've sort of been young for 2 or 3 or 4 years, but an up-and-comer. You know, they're guys who are going to replace the Dettoris and Ryan Moores in the next 5 years. And that's Jack Mitchell. I actually played Jack Mitchell when he was on Torquato Tasso in the German Derby on the nose. He was 40-1, and primarily because Jack Mitchell was riding. It finished second. But I think that's a great jockey booking.
To win the Arc de Triomphe that year as well.
Win the Arc, yeah. Known as a soft course specialist. But what I like most about Sisfahan is that he's well in at the weights in this race. He's a Group 1 horse, and he's racing against handicappers, and he's got less weight than some of them and equal weight. So it's what the English would say he's well in, and I think that's meaningful. Now, the trainer's wife who did the draw, she was interviewed, and she said, well, he didn't get a race. We wanted to get a race into him, but it was a very cold winter in Germany and blah-de-blah, and he's got a bit of condition. Now, having a bit of conditions, it's not great, but it's, horses can win with it. And I think this horse is good enough, so I'm putting it on top. But
Davey, he's a little cold in the market. He's around. This is 12-1. We know this is going to change, but I think you're going to get a decent price on this horse on Saturday.
You'll get a decent price. I think what I'm looking at. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win straight out. I'm definitely looking at my biggest bet of the whole day will be a trifecta in this race, and it will involve boxing my 3 horses in the first 3 places, and then adding the horses I'm fading in the 3rd spot. And
wow.
Be a bunch of horses.
So you're going to do what we call a partial, where you're going to go 3 by X by X. Correct, Davey?
Yeah, 3 by 3 by 8.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, terrific.
That's how I would do it. And
Davey, do you have those numbers for people that are interested? Do you have those specific numbers, that bet exactly?
I do, yeah.
Would you mind?
I would go 368,
368,
368 with 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11.
Okay, let's repeat that one more time. Davey's play of the day is a trifecta in this race. He's going 368 with 368, and then give us those numbers in 3rd, Davey.
1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, we can just end the show right now, because I'm just going to win thousands of dollars on that one right there.
You're going to be in a pool with a lot of guys from Hong Kong and France and the UK, and they're all going to be playing their favorite horses and so on. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of liquidity. Now, what I'm doing is 2 things. Is I'm fading the favorite, which is clearly on history the best horse in the race, Subjectivist, but it's been out for 2 years and a very bad injury. It's coming back, and I think they'll be happy with a bit of place prize money and getting the horse, getting a race into the horse. I think they're fine with that. And the other horse I'm fading is Trawlerman. Now, most people will play Dettori. He just had a 4-timer in Santa Anita. It's a Godolphin horse. It looks great, but it's basically a handicapper. It's not a group horse, this Trawlerman, you know? And the ultimate prize for this horse this year will be going to Dubai in 5 weeks' time, you know? So that's the target for me. So I'm fading it. I'm not going to say he's not going to finish third, fourth, or fifth, whatever. But I don't see him I don't see him in the first two, or I don't see Subjectivist in the first two.
And
so
that's Pete's second choice. Look at the breeding.
No,
Pete.
actually, it's funny.
Golden Horn out of a monsoon mare. The breeding is just unbelievable. Anyway,
it's funny. I actually after I had sent you the picks and I got the PPs, I actually switched and moved the 2 down, and I'm actually like 183 was my sort of. So I'm actually with Davy and on the 8. So once I got the PPs and I was able to look at it a little more, I didn't send it to you, but yeah.
There you go. Man, you guys are making my job. Now I've not only got to click screens, I got to switch numbers.
Well,
that's
the PPs came out a little late, so you know we had to rush through that one a bit. But
can we talk about the 3 guys, Davey? I own this 20-1, Pete. This is why for JW and everyone else out there, this is why our dumbass Americans, we don't know what we're doing with these horses, Pete. This is why this is a great betting day. This horse is 20-1 in our PPs. I love this horse. Now, this is a replay I've got a bunch of replays, Davey. This is a replay. Yeah. I think this is the correct race. Enemy breaks very slow. Let me bring up this replay.
Gates are back.
All right, let me back it up a little bit here. Not too much. Enemy is the 8 right here. Breaks very slow, guys, and is way in the back of the pack and makes a huge sustained run and wins like easily. This was really impressive. I'll just go ahead and show this again. Enemy is in these.
Are back. And they're racing.
Enemy's right there in these colors right there. It's breaking really slow. The 4, you see this in the
Make sure you mute it, Howard. You got.
I'm sorry. You guys can hear that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
It's all good.
Enemy is way back here. Way back here. Okay. I think it's the 4 right there. Now, when you go into this stretch, this horse saves ground the entire way and makes a huge run and does it really impressively. We got to show this run. Let me bring it forward here. I'm pretty sure it's one of these 2 back markers. Hold on, let me go forward here. Okay. It's one of these 2. I think it's one of these 2 back markers. I'm sorry, I'm not sure which number it is right now. We'll see this horse come through, just waiting and waiting and waiting, and making an absolutely huge run. I think he's in the red right here. Yep. You guys see right here? He's in the red, and it's going to. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Get Shirty. This is Get Shirty. I'm sorry, Davey. This is Get Shirty right here. Get Shirty makes a big run for second. Sorry about that, Davey. Do you want to talk about Get Shirty a little bit right here?
Well, that's also a Monson, and you look at the action there. There's a great determination and a terrier-like quality about these Monsons, to come and win, like this. And Get Shirty has this. One thing to say about both Enemy and Get Shirty, in contrast to the other horse in my top 3, is Sishvahan. Sishvahan's the Group 1 horse, or the group horse, the Breeders' Cup. 7th place horse. These are handicappers, but these are hard race fit handicappers. They've both had races. And the other thing to note about them, and this is why it's important to also know not just about where horses have been, but where horses are intended for. Both of these horses had entries in the Melbourne Cup last year. Now, they didn't go for one reason or another. There's more issues with the vets in Melbourne, checking the horses and this, that, and the rest. But that shows you that these 2 horses are at the top of the handicapping game in this long distance race. So that they're very live in my book. And they've got very, very strong trainers. One of them you'll know is the trainer of Rashun, is Ian Williams. He trains Enemy. So
that's right. I knew that name sounded familiar. So I apologize, everyone home. So Enemy is right here. I'm 100%. This is Enemy, the 12. What's weird about this race, guys, at the beginning, these 2 jockeys are talking to each other as if there was a mistake in the gate, because watch how slow these 2 break. Enemy is right here. Do you see how the jockey, like look at this, they're like leaning over, like talking, like I don't know what's going on here, and they break as if like they're not ready. Do you see this? Like, look how slow that was. It was really weird. I don't know. I hope everyone saw that. But anyway, here's Enemy right here in the blue. And this run that Enemy makes, like he's right here, is the way back here, guys. This run that Enemy makes was really impressive. Here's Enemy right. You see right here, guys. You see this right here? Just waiting and waiting and waiting on the turn, and absolutely explodes. Here he's right here. Do you see him right? He's going to dive to the inside, guys. Here's Enemy. This is a serious move here at Davy Lane, and does it for fun. I love this run right here by Enemy, Davy.
Yeah, I agree. I was taken with it, and the horse is not just sort of arrived all of a sudden. One interesting thing to note, I'm not sure if it's on American PPs, but when the horse eventually landed at Ian Williams, the horse had a wind operation. Now you know what that means. It's some sort of procedure where they mess with the throat or the various types of wind operations.
Displace his palate. There's a lot of things he could have done.
All sorts of things, but this is a huge. The surgery on this is improving day by day, and the horses are coming out like gangbusters sometimes. And if you get a horse after a wind operation, it can change a horse, and this obviously has changed this horse.
Well, that's funny because Davey, that was one of the reasons why I had the 3. Because if you were looking at the Racing Post, you could see that this horse moved up into better company in like July and August and didn't run that well. But that August run was just terrible. And even if you can look on like the Racing Post ratings, like their little speed figures, they sort of dipped from the prior and then comes back, gets the wind surgery. It said August 31st. So it was right after that August 20th race, which was terrible. And then had the time off. And then you see, even though that was lower company and it was a handicap race, the rating went back up and the race just looked more impressive. So to me, I looked at that the same way and said, that must have done something. And hopefully he may not class back up and he's still over at like the stakes level. He may not class back up, but if he's better and if he's sounder and if he can breathe better, obviously, then I think at 20-1 plus, whatever we're going to get, I like this one.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. We got to move on, guys. Get Shirty. Was that horse? I apologize. I was closing in for a second. I know it's Silver Sonic from Japan is taking a lot of money. He's live, although he did get a dream trip last time. There's Sisfahan. Davey, we're gonna move on. Any other thoughts on this race? This is a big race for you. It's your big bet of the day is right here.
Yeah, I mean, I've dismissed the 2 Japanese, but I'm not going to rule them out of coming in for 3rd place either. I'm not a fool that way. But also I've included 1 local horse in this, My Frankel. James Doyler's riding it. And, that's a former Michael Stout trained horse. And that could pop up for a 3rd place as well. So that's in the list.
Pete, how would you like to be called My Secretariat? I mean, no pressure on the horse. The horse named My Frankel. I mean, that's crazy.
Not exactly living up to the Frankel, but
not exactly. All right, guys, let's go on to the next race. Yeah. Let's go on to the next race. The next race is the Saudi Derby. Pete, you and I have a little better feel for this race with some one big American in this race, of course, for Baffert. Let me go ahead and bring up the entries here. This race is a mile. It's a flat mile, 1 turn. Here we go right here. Flat mile, 1 turn, 1.5 million for the restricted 3-year-olds are in this race. To me, this is a 2-horse race. I'll just scroll down here. You can see the field here. There's a bunch of horses coming from South America. There's some Japanese horses. And then second from the bottom, you have the Baffert horse for Frankie Dettori, big favorite in this race, having a meltdown, who really is a very fast horse. And you see our picks there on the bottom of the screen. Most of us are Davey and I are going with the 12. Pete's going to go a different direction. Pete, I'm going to have you go first. You like My Map, who's bred in the U.S. This is a horse that's been running, I believe, in the Middle East.
Yeah, and this was more of again, having a meltdown looks like on paper the obvious choice. The one thing I did like, though, is there seems to be a lot of speed in this race. So having a meltdown, at least in the U.S., was sort of very forwardly placed and even was contending with Cave Rock on the lead when Cave Rock beat him. Lorelei is also speed. And then there was Commissioner King has a little bit of speed, and I didn't look at every single horse, but I thought there was enough speed in here. And my map again, that might be another one who doesn't class up, but I just loved watching that horse run. And when you watched him run, he just explodes and he really demolished competition. Now, again, it was much lower level. So I'm taking a shot with the price, but I agree that having a meltdown on paper looks like it's going to be pretty tough. But if you watch this horse, again, it's beating very much lower class, but some of the horses in this race. But I do think that if this horse does class up, then you never know. And I'll take it at a price.
Pete, you said some horses have some speed. Just from my knowledge, where did you find that? Like, how did you know that? You mentioned the Commissioner King has early speed.
I just happened to. I was watching some of these races, and Commissioner King just seems to try and get away, and that's how.
You watched the replay. You watched some replay.
I watched the replays, and Lorelei, who's actually the horse I have in second. That one is very quick out of the gate, which again we don't always equate with some of the overseas horses.
Yeah,
that one was quick. But I think that's enough to where if having a meltdown leaves like a Baffert horse is known to do, there may be some competition up front and maybe the pace heats up, which is, again, isn't always the case overseas. But you start throwing an American speed horse in there and who knows?
Having a meltdown is going, Pete. I don't, Davey, who was the Baffert horse we tried to beat last year in Dubai and just barely, was it Pinehurst?
Pinehurst.
Yeah. Remember we tried to beat Pinehurst last year, Davey, and he went to the lead and we just missed getting him. This feels like the same kind of race, Davey, where having a meltdown is like last year's Pinehurst, where having a meltdown, Pete, I don't care how fast these other horses are. I'd be shocked if having a meltdown doesn't have the lead here. But I think the horses could press him. And Davey and I have having a meltdown on top. But there's a horse, Davey, that you and I have in second, and I absolutely love this horse. I think this horse has a big shot, and I have a replay to show. This is 3-1 morning lines, already pretty low in the morning lines in the PPs. Derma Sotogake, this is a very talented Japanese horse, Davey. And as you talk, I'm going to show a replay.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead. What do you like about this horse?
Which replay are you showing, Howard?
I'm going to show the one you sent. This is the one that he won last time. In December. This one you see on the screen.
Okay, hold on.
He's the 4 horse. He's gonna be the 4 horse closing here on the outside, which I'll go ahead and show right here.
Okay, all right, hold on.
He's gonna be coming right here in these silks right here, Davey.
It's green.
I think this is his last run. I believe it's his last run.
Oh yeah, he only won by a head though, wasn't it? A close race, right?
Correct.
Kawasaki. Okay, yeah, okay.
What do you like about this horse, Davey?
Yeah, you know, it's a will to win, isn't it? Really, you know, this is another example. I'm just watching it slowly. It's it was a bit fuzzy there to see, but what I remember, it was a will to win. And I also remember looking at the other Japanese horses, and I wasn't as impressed by their general way they went about winning, and there was something more about that horse's tenacity. That was really the main reason I went with it. There's nothing special for it.
Well,
I did find it interesting that some of the marquee jockeys went booked for some of these Japanese horses in the Derby. I was curious about that. But
a few things I found interesting for everyone at home. First of all, this horse, Pete, this horse is by Mind Your Biscuits.
Yeah, I noted that.
Who's a very popular sire.
Yep.
Popular sire in Japan. Of course, Mind Your Biscuits, as you might remember, Davey, won the Dubai Shima. Was a real nice sprinter. But this horse has been able to stretch out. The other thing is you see this horse in third, this Perrier, ran in Hong Kong, ran last weekend, guys, and won in one of the Kentucky Derby preps in Japan. So that flatters the form of Derma Sotogake. I think this is a very interesting horse. They've got to come back to having a meltdown. Davey's got to come back to the field. But if he does, Pete, this is like the closer that I want. Obviously, this is going to be a much lower price. To me, it's one of these two, Pete, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I had that horse as sort of a, and I think we talk about on our our pick 5 shows, I guess sort of a B, somewhere between a B, C level. But I agree with you that I think coming off the pace, if we do get some sort of speed up front, I think this one's definitely going to be a beneficiary.
Yep. And I just, again, for everyone at home, I do want to show some recent odds. Again, just go to Odds Checker and you can see these odds. Here are, approximate odds right now. You see having a meltdown is, around, 3 to 2-ish. Actually, Continuar is getting a lot of money, Davey. This is another Japanese horse.
Yeah, maybe because the trainer was interviewed and he said his best chance of his three is Continuar, and he was wearing a hat with Continuar on it and a jacket with Continuar. So he was flagging. He was flagging it. I mean, if that's a signal for you, go ahead. I mean, I'm all for signals like that, But I watched the horse race and I didn't quite get it, so it wasn't for me. You know what? The horse I have in third, I do like. Trouble is, it's a southern hemisphere bred. It gets João Moreira. It's got too much weight to carry, but it's a stone cold closer. And if this thing is a fast pace,
I like this one, Davey. I had this one as like my fourth choice. Yeah, Davey. This one, but you're going to need some heat up front, right, Davey?
Yeah, exactly. This is Esunico, the Uruguayan horse. Now, and it gets Moreira on board. And if this is this horse here, if this is a speed duel, this horse could come late. Now, I'm thinking come late to pick up the pieces and get third, but, because it's bred in the Southern Hemisphere, it carries, I'm not sure exactly how much weight more, but it carries a significant
131, Davey.
Yeah, 131, yeah.
4-year-old, yeah. By the way, the Continuar guys, the breeding of Continuar, Pete? DeFrong, remember that horse? Real fast.
I did. I noticed that. That's a fast
for Baffert, right?
Yeah. That was a fast horse.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The one thing about that horse was that threw me a bit was both the wins were on off track, so I didn't know if maybe he just had an affinity for the off tracks, and he's a little grindy, as we like to think about in our terms. The one before you, I don't know if you're ready to move on, but
I'd like to.
Real quick, I like the 2 just for people to check it out. And the one thing I did read, and I don't know if you could take anything from this, in the notes for the race. So this horse had been a monster and is really impressive when you look at his races. But then if you look at the last one, was terrible and was just sort of up near the lead and just faded to the back as the favorite, I think. And in the notes, it said this one had an endoscopic exam, which revealed a degree of mucus that may have affected the colt's performance. And I was like, if that's true, and they're a little bit more transparent in some of the other countries, obviously we're not used to that here, then if that one can get back to prior form, he's really fun to watch. And again, I don't know about classing up, but I think that too he was my second choice for that reason, but he's going to have to contend with having a meltdown on the front end. So I just wanted to mention that one and that point, because people might not see that anywhere else.
This is great. Again, people, take this information for what it's worth. You can decide what you like, what you don't like, etc. Guys, we got 2 races left. Let's go to the penultimate race. This is an American type of race for sure, and the Americans are bringing the heat this year, Pete, in this race. Now, last year, let me go ahead and show show what we're talking about here. This is race 7. It's the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, $1.5 million. Your typical 6 furlongs, your 1,200 meters. This is at 11:45 Eastern Standard Time. I'll scroll down the field. Dancing Prince won this race last year. You see the Breeders' Cup sprint winner, and as Pete knows, Eclipse winner.
Big
debate. Elite Power. You got You have Gunite, a very nice sprinter as well. Maras is another American that's very fast. Used to be a Middle Eastern horse. Now has been running in the U.S. mainly and is very fast. And then you have Remake, the number 8, who is a very talented Japanese up-and-comer, a closer for a jockey in Yuichi Fukunaga, who I believe is retiring. I don't know if it's this weekend. I can't recall. Anyway, Davey, there's a lot of interesting stories here. I'm going to let you go first. You're going to go with that Japanese horse, the number 8, Remake, on top.
Yeah, well, it won by 4 lengths in its last race, like a bat out of hell, and it's a grade 3 race. I think it's the best Japanese outside of the big race itself. I think there's something interesting about it being Fukunaga's last race. I think that's maybe says something. That'll be good. And I'm not particularly that keen on the Americans, Gunite and Elite Power. Maybe Elite Power to me seems like it might have ran all its races at the end of last year, and they're bringing him over just because he's a Saudi-owned horse, and I don't quite feel it. So that's why I'm taking a shot with the Japanese horse. I like Meras. I like Chad Summers' way and style of doing things. I like that he put a jockey from Philadelphia on the horse and kept loyal to him and brought him over. I think that's a great thing. I like that a lot. You got these worker jockeys.
30-1. What?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So
these odds are cuckoo, Pete.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, there was a horse on the PP. What was it? Eastern Bay. Didn't Eastern Bay win it like Laurel Park last weekend?
Very good. Right? Yeah, Eastern Bay won at Laurel last weekend. Good memory. Wow.
Right. So that stacks the form up a little bit. So, but having said that, it seems too obvious to me. Frankie's there for the Saudis, this, that, and the rest. I don't know. What was the other reason? Actually, I saw an image of the horse yesterday. And it looked a little fat to me. Maybe it's a sprinter and that's the way they are, but it didn't look quite as fit as I thought.
You're talking about Elite Power right now, correct?
Yeah, Elite Power. Yeah. So that's why I backed off Elite Power in this and went with the Japanese.
Well, I've got Remake in second, Pete. He won in 108 and 4 and did it well. It came from the cloud. So Davey, you can't be too far back. I know you can close on this track, but he can't be too far back. And look at the breeding on Remake, guys. Lonnie, remember Lonnie, Pete, who was one of the first Japanese horses to compete.
That was the first one.
Crown races. Yeah. He was a total goofball. Remember this horse, Pete? Yep. It actually ran okay in those Triple Crown races.
He was actually good when he got over. But he was the first time we'd really seen a Japanese horse come over especially for those types of races. So that name always sticks out.
Guys, I love Gunite here. I mean, love. This is one of my top picks. This will be on the power picks, Pete. I don't think Gunite, we talked about this last year, Davey. Gunite last time, or 2 starts back in the Breeders' Cup, ran in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile against Cody's Wish, which was a great story that I think the whole world probably knows about, and Cyberknife. And he ran very well, Pete. And I thought he should have been in the sprint, but I think the reason why he was not in the sprint is because Asmussen already had Jackie's Warrior there. Of course, didn't run very well. But Pete, this is a horse that's getting better and better. He's goofy, though. He doesn't always change leads. And in fact, Pete, he usually doesn't change leads in the stretch, but he's so fast, I don't think it really matters. My only concern with Gunite, and he's breaking from the 2-hole, and Pete, I've watched almost every single race back, is that he has not been on the inside taking dirt very much in his starts. When he's on the inside, usually they send him to the lead, and I don't think he's that quick. I mean, he's quick, but I think Dancing Prince and Maras are faster. I'm hoping Gunite sits off those two, Davey, gets to the clear in the outside, and goes on by. And I have a replay real quick of Gunite's last effort, which was against much easier. But what I really like here, guys, he's the 7, is I like that he has a prep. Davey, I think it's really important that he's got a prep. He did this so easily. Now, again, this is against easier, but you see he's learning how to rate. He finishes. You'll see he's got his left lead. He leads with his left for whatever reason, Pete. But he's really fast. He's doing it well. I don't know if he loves the slop or not, but this was his best effort. And he's being asked, but he's not like all out. This is just super impressive to me, Pete. I really like Gunite in this spot a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, if he runs his race, I mean, I sort of liked him a bit in the Breeders' Cup and behind Cody's Wish, and he just didn't run that day. But the mile, I think, is a little more than he wants to do, and that was his problem. So cutting back to 6, where he's 2 for 2, he does seem to like the off track. So maybe that was what made him look so impressive last time. But he's been impressive in plenty of races, and I think he's got. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, to me, I like it's 2, 8. And I like the 4, and then Dancing Prince is the defending champ, so you got to give him his respect. So to me, those 4 are going to probably duke it out. Go ahead, Davey. You want to say something?
You're sticking with Elite Power, Pete. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Davey. Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Davey.
It's interesting what you did say about the prep. I mean, I was put off Elite Power because it didn't have a prep. But when I saw the photographs of the horses in the last few days in Saudi, Gunite looks fantastic. I mean, he looks great. And Elite Power didn't quite seem that way to me. And that may be because of the prep. I may be reading into it, and I don't really have that professional eye that Maggie Wolfendale or Jenny Chapman of Hong Kong eye for this kind of stuff. But really, you know, it stood out to me. And it was a toss-up between Remake and Gunite for the top two. I went one way and so on. But yeah, I'm fading Elite Power in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like Dancing Prince at all. Pete, I know you've got him third. I know he's speedy, but this is a much, much tougher race than last year. There were basically no Americans in the race last year. Switzerland raced last year and didn't run well. This to me, Pete and Davey, is a totally different animal, literally, than it was last year. I don't like Dancing Prince at all in this spot.
Yeah, I think you guys. I think I'm with you guys now. I probably would move Gunite up to at least the third spot. I still really like Remake, and Elite Power is just a horse that I really love. And again, I don't know if Davey's right, and maybe he doesn't look as good as he should, and maybe he's not going to be fit for this. Then that would be problematic. But just based on prior form, I like Elite Power still. But I like the 8. I mean, you're getting the best price on the 8. And I think if we can get someone to run with Dancing Prince and maybe heat it up a little bit, and we should get that, then I think the 8 could come from the clouds at a price, which would be fantastic.
It's a fun race. Guys, let's get to it. The $20 million Saudi Cup. It's a fantastic race. There are some serious Americans in this race. This is a nice field. I don't know. I think the Dubai World Cup might be a better field from the international standpoint, but this is a very good race, and there's a horse in this race. And Davey, let's bring up the picks right now. And we didn't really talk about our picks at all, Davey.
No,
we shared some information, but we didn't talk about our picks. Davy Lane and I love the Japanese runner here in this spot. June Lightbolt. Let me go ahead and show everyone the field here for the I keep thinking Dubai, for the Saudi Cup. Sorry, guys. For the Saudi Cup, it's going to be $20 million. It's a 1.1 miles. It's a one-turn 1.1 miles. It's a one-turn 1.1 miles. It's going to go off at approximately 12:35 Eastern time in the afternoon. You see Cafe Faro. There's Country Grammar. Crown Pride. Davey, a horse we tipped out live on this show last year, like 15-1. And then Christophe Lemaire ruined the Kentucky Derby by setting this horse to the lead and going crazy. Emblem Road won last year at 80-1. There's June Lightbolt. Panthalassa's from the rail, who's got speed. There's Taba. Vindegard's a closer. And you got some also-rans. Davey, you and I are both going with the June Lightbolt. This horse is trained by Yusao Tomomichi, and Ryan Moore gets the ride.
Yeah, and it's a three-time Group 1 winning machine. I mean, it's won its last 3 races, second the time before that. I mean, it knows how to win. It knows how to put horses away, and it goes at this distance. And it comes like a runaway train. I mean, it's a fantastic horse. I think if I can just go on to the I'm just going to go onto the J site here and just check if it's got any speed records here. If you just bear with me, yeah.
As you do that, Davey, here's his last race winning. Here's what I like. Let me freeze it. This is Crown Pride, everyone, right here. This is Crown Pride, who I think he's got a shot in this race. He's getting better, Pete. He's learning how to rate and finish.
I love this horse. I liked him in the Derby, and he hasn't been able to hold though. He's got a little secondinitis this year, so I couldn't put him on the top, but he was close. He was teetering in my third spot, so he's right there for me, right underneath the top couple.
Here's June Lightbolt, and what I really like about this horse, Davey, he's right here in this red cap, is he's taking a lot of dirt. And this track in Japan, the tracks in Japan and Hong Kong, etc., are a little more sandy based, similar to what they're going to see in Saudi. And he doesn't mind the kickback at all. He's like in behind horses. I'll go ahead and now let it go here. He's in behind horses, and he tips out right here, the 5, athletically tipped out, switches back to his correct lead, and really he's on his wrong lead, but he switches back right there. He switches back and finishes. He's getting better and better. I really like everything about this horse, Davey. I'm a big fan of June Lightbolt on Saturday.
Yeah, likewise. He's not had 3 Group 1s, just to clarify that, but 3 wins in a row, and he's moved up from listed level to Group 3 level to Group 1 level. So his trajectory is in the right direction. That's the main thing.
Yeah. We also like, well, let me go with you, Davey. You got the 11 in second. The 11 is Vindigar. Now, this is a horse that's going to close from the clouds. That's a turf horse off a layoff. I'm a little surprised you like this horse for second. What are you thinking here, Davey?
I had Cafe Pharaoh. I might have got them. I might have got these draws and things mixed up.
Oh, okay. Tell me what you like. You got the 1 for second, not the 11. I could have been
Cafe Pharaoh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I might have typed it down wrong. All right, let me go to Cafe Pharaoh. Go ahead. Talk about Cafe Pharaoh.
Yeah, well, this is a horse that's won the February Stakes for the last 2 years, not this year, but the time before that. I was touted as a horse that was likely to come to the Breeders' Cup, and I think again COVID got in the way and it didn't come out. So it has been Japan's sort of like top dirt horse prior to June Lightbulb, who's beaten Cafe Pharaoh, I think on. But it could be distance. It could have problems with the distance. It's a bit of a closer too, and it gets João Moreira, so it's got a chance, but it's not. It's I'm not. It's not a confident second. I was close to putting Crown Pride in there, and actually, once I heard the news about Tiber today, I wasn't really too keen on that finishing third. What did you hear about
Tiber today?
Well, it was acting cultish, according to people. Yeah, so I don't like that at all. You know, I mean, if
he acted up. For those people that don't know what we're talking about, he acted up behind the gate. He reared up. He was acting up, but he's an excitable horse. There are the odds right now, if you can see him there on the screen. Approximate odds. Table's got about 2-1. Country Grammar somewhere in the 3.5 to 4-1 range. There's June Lightbolt about 7-1. I would take that all day. Panthalassa, Crown Pride, and Cafe Pharaoh, Davey, around 15s or 16s, somewhere on there. But this one I understand, Pete, is this 4-1 morning line. Are these going to be the morning lines in all of the United States PPs? Because this makes a big difference for people.
Yeah, I mean, if that's where the horse is starting, I don't know, because I didn't get that at all. I mean, I looked at these late, but I didn't get that. Yeah. But I guess we'll see. I'm not going to get too bogged down in the morning lines because we know there's no way that horse should be less than Country Grammar, though. I mean, I don't see.
What was Country Grammar? Wait, what was Country 6? What?
6. Yeah, there's no chance of that.
But let's talk.
People have to realize is that 3 of the Japanese horses are turf horses, and they're basically rolling the dice. That Panthalassa, Panthalassa is the mother of all rabbits. I mean, that thing just goes.
You got to watch his. People should watch his races, right, Davey? Those are fun. The one that I don't know if it was the last one or the one before, but that horse looked like it was ready. It was halfway around the track before the other ones were there, and then got run down.
So it's going to cause It's going to cause. I mean, it might work. I think that was the reason I put Cafe Pharaoh in second. Ultimately, was because this thing could be a real burn up, and it might suit him, even though the distance is a bit of a stretch. So
are we? If here's the question I have for both you guys. Let's talk about Taba, okay? Pete, I think you and I should focus on this just because we're a little more familiar with the horse. So Davey, of course, feel free to comment.
Yeah.
Mike Smith is not a sit-back kind of guy, Pete. He's going with Taba. But Taba doesn't always strike me as like he's more of a grindy type. He's got to be worked on. He can be a little bit quirky. And he's got Crown Pride right next to him in the 3. So he's got speed on the inside of him. On the outside, Pete, this could be a dicey spot for a horse that has not always loved taking dirt also. Taba is so talented. I've got him in second, Pete, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wins by 3 or 4. I also wouldn't be surprised if he, runs up the track and gets 5th or 6th. I really wouldn't.
Yeah. I think for me, it was more of, it was more of a predictor race where if we think this is going to be potentially the best handicap horse in the U.S. for the year, then this is where you should start it off, and you should run well here. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, then, there's a little, for a weak handicap division that we have, this is potentially the top of it. And if that's no good, then, but I agree with you. I don't think Smith, though, the good thing in this race is there's enough speed to where he's not going to get mixed up in the speed. Panthalassa is going to be so far ahead that you're not going to get mixed up.
He's a turf.
No,
like, how fast could he be, though, Pete? He's a turf.
He's fast. He's just going to go.
Okay.
I mean, at least if you base it on the replays and watching his races, he's going, and he's going to be one of those up by. He's like Tribuvan. He's going to be up by 6 or 7
that
lengths.
much?
Yeah, and then right, Davey, do you agree with that? I think he's going to be up by a ton, and then they're going to have to just run him down. So I don't think Tabe is going to get mixed up in all that. At least.
Well, that would work to Tabe's advantage. David, we saw this horse win in Dubai last year. I don't want to misquote you, David, but I think you were against this horse last year, and I liked him a little bit more, and he hung on and won. Do I remember that correctly, David?
Yeah, I was against him. Yeah. Panthalassa,
Yeah.
I see it as a bit of a one-trick pony. You know, he tries to break and go as fast as possible and hope no one follows him. And by the time
Emblem Road won this last year, 81. We just don't think he can repeat it, Pete and Davey. Is that simple?
I mean,
I wouldn't say that. I mein, he's got a jockey upgrade this year. You know, I mean,
he doesn't do anything wrong. He never does anything wrong.
I mean, there are 3 serious jockeys in Ospina, this guy Alexis Moreno, and Ferreira. I mean, they're 3 good riders who ride regularly in Saudi Arabia. If there are any horse in the under, if you're looking for underneath stuff, I mean,
this is last year. Yeah, here's Country Grammar. Here's Midnight Bourbon. And here comes here comes Emblem Road at 80-1. But he's a legitimate horse, and you can see you can come down the middle of this track, and if it's fast, early pace here, why can't this horse do it again, Davey? I wouldn't rule him out.
I haven't ruled him out. I would almost be thinking about replacing, putting him in instead of Tiber after I heard about Tiber. So I haven't fully fleshed that one out, to be honest.
Wow.
But
okay.
I haven't ruled him out.
I had him as sort of a B in our pick 5 lingo. Howard, he's sort of right beneath them for me too, and he could even move up, I think, because again, the only bad race he had was when they put him on the turf, and it was on soft turf too. So it was sort of doubly trouble for him. So why not?
Pete, let's finish this show and this conversation with Country Grammar. How do you feel about Country Grammar in this race, Pete?
I never get Country Grammar right, it feels like. So I never know. I thought it might be a little short for him. And, last time, I don't know. He just doesn't seem to fire his best race. He won that last one, and you see the speed figures. Finally we have some figures to look at. They just haven't been top notch. And I mean, he lost by 19 to Flightline, but then he loses to Defunded, who didn't come. He came back and he ran okay after that. He ran well after that, but he's not someone you think at the top.
Lost a royal ship.
I just don't. I don't love him. I mean,
I don't love him either.
If he won the race, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's not like you're gonna. I mean, it's got Dettori and it's Baffert, and he sends him over, and he ran well here last year, and then used this as the springboard to Dubai. But it's a little short. Maybe he's more of a 1.25 miles at his best, and I could just put him. I'd probably have him if we were doing like a pick 6 or something. You'd probably have a ticket somewhere with him potentially, especially if he's at a little bit of a price. But that's about it.
Davey and I playing a pick 6. I don't know what you're talking about, guys. We got a little bit overboard. That's okay. We really hope that everyone enjoyed our show. As Pete, as people know, we usually give a pick 5. We don't really know what the betting sequence is going to be like, and we don't want to get into that. I think we gave people plenty of information. Davey, I'm going to let you end the show. You already gave out your trifecta. People can go back and listen. Your best bet of the day is the trifecta in race 5 in the Red Sea Handicap. If you had to lean on one horse as a single in the last 4 races, let's just say, Davey, is there a horse in the last 4 races you really like for our American bettors here at home to focus on? At maybe a little bit of a price in the last 4 races.
In the last 4 races, June Lightbulb.
There we go.
The last.
What do you think we're getting? Are we getting 6s or 7s on this horse? I think we will, Davey.
I think you will, because everyone's going to bet the 2 Baffert, aren't they? It's probably third favorite, right? So you're probably
going to get Farrow apparently, Pete, since he's 4-1 morning line. So I don't.
4-1. I don't know what's going on there. But there's no way they're not betting the Americans. I think you're going to get that price for sure.
Davey, we really appreciate you coming on. We know it's much later there. It's almost 11:30 now for Davey.
It's been a long
Any
week.
final thoughts for the bettors and punters on Saturday, Davey?
I would pay attention to the Hong Kong tote board initially to see what money they've thrown in the 8 hours they've been awake before you get up, like tomorrow, because this board's going to go live tomorrow, and the money be ticking in already. So you should be monitoring what the Hong Kong punters are doing the day before the race, really, and you'll get a sense of where it's flowing, and you can monitor that right up in the next day, and make some chicken scratches about where the money's going. You remember where it was 18 hours before and 12 hours before, and so on, and then get a sense of what's going on, and then make your own decisions, of course.
Terrific. Davey, we really appreciate you coming on. Stick on just for a few minutes after the show, Pete. Yeah. Actually, if you could stick on for a minute or two also, we'll talk to both of you. It's been great. We wish everyone tons of luck on Saturday morning in Saudi Arabia. It's a fantastic card with a lot of great betting opportunities. For my co-host, Pete Visco, and wonderful guest, Davy Lane, who will be back, I believe, for Dubai World Cup in a month. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz. Thanks for watching. Everyone, crush your bets this Saturday morning in Saudi Arabia. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. We'll see you at 8 p.m. Eastern in a few hours. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.